Most people would rather stay bad forever than look foolish for just 5 minutes. And nowhere is that more obvious than in sword fighting. So the first point is the beginner ego trap. Every one of us, including you and me, wants to look cool, wants to look good with a sword, right? We want to move like experts and we want to be seen as someone who understands his shit. We want to win our first few exchanges and we want to avoid embarrassment, right? And some of these examples are very obvious for more experienced guy inside of sword fight. But for people who don't know how to actually fight or sword fight, swinging hugely with a sword or doing some weird techniques that you don't understand in the first place, pretending you're confident, right, with a sword, and trying all of these flashy techniques that actually don't mean anything in your sword fighting training, at least for now, because you don't understand them. And one of the most important examples here is actually you resisting any correction whatsoever. So all of us want to look like a swordsman before we actually become one. And this is the trap I'd like you to avoid. So if you still don't know me yet, hi, I'm Michael Cousin and I've been training sword fighting for more than 2.5 years already in historical European martial arts, which is basically a sword fighting practice with longswords and other weapons as well. And also my objective is to help beginners out with my free community, the links in the description or the first pinned comment, where I actually go in depth, like autistically, in the first steps that you need to take to actually start training sword fighting, not just imagining it or just watching videos on YouTube. Like every video that you have right now on the sidebar is probably about sword fighting, right? Don't get me wrong. It's cool that you watch it, but it's time for you to actually learn it, right? So go and check it out, the links in the description. Point number 2 is that real improvement looks ugly. So getting better in some kind of physical skill, in this instance, of course, sword fighting, so for me it's longsword, it's nearly always looks ugly. It often looks like awkward footwork or awkward footwork training specifically. It means slow drills and repeated exercises that don't look cool whatsoever. And it's also you making or repeating even your mistakes over and over again up to the point when you actually start to correct them. And it often looks like getting hit in sparring because you have to actually learn sword fighting defense in order to defend yourself. And it's of course freezing under pressure of the actual sword fight because most beginners don't have the ability to manage all of the different things in an actual exchange, which is of course total chaos. And the most common thing which comes up is you'll be forgetting all of your technique when it gets to actually sparring with someone. So real improvement rarely looks impressive in the moment. It often looks like a failure. Point number 3 is why people quit early sword fighting. So this is your usual emotional reason of why you actually want to leave sword fighting training in the first place. It's not because it's too hard. You decide to quit because it damages your ego, because you need to be corrected thousands of times before you actually learn something fundamental. You often feel exposed and other people often see you struggling with something specific, and that's all because you suspected some kind of talent inside of yourself before you actually started. Yeah, because you probably imagined yourself as some sort of anime expert sword fighter with a katana who can just slice everyone with one swing. Well, my friend, it's not how it works, right? We both know it doesn't look like this. So basically what? Many people can tolerate pain, including you, but very few can actually tolerate looking incompetent. Point number 4 is that sword fighting exposes pretending. So I know I already tackled this topic in my previous video, but to just reassure you in what I actually believe is that in most of your everyday life activities, such as work or hobbies, you can fake progress or you can fake being confident, right? But in actual sword fight, bad distance in sword fighting gets you punished. Constant panic also gets you punished. Your hesitation also gets you punished. And your false confidence gets you punished as well. The sword is brutally honest with you. It just reveals what you already are, not what you imagine yourself being. My next point is about the so-called full mindset. So this is one of the best mindsets that actually master swordsmen also acknowledge and use for themselves. To improve, you need to become a person who can actually lower their ego, who can ask dumb questions, who can make mistakes, who can lose repeatedly against the same opponents over and over again. It's the person who can be corrected publicly. So a person who can actually go through a mini social suicide in some sorts. The fool needs to look awkward when actually learning something, and he should know how to fail without drama, because the real fool always learns faster than the proud man who cannot lose his image. But the actual fool pursues skill compared to the proud man. And this is why it's something that I wanted to tell you, because it's also my own personal experience as well. It's not just me rambling about it because I saw it on the internet. No, it's actually me failing lots of times against the same opponents, doing the same mistakes and trying to correct them. Improvement doesn't look perfect. That's why it's called improvement. And also, learning real skill isn't as simple as just leveling up in a video game. Well, the action that you need to repeat, such as playing the video game to level up, it's kind of the same as in sword fighting, right? That's why there is countless different B-rolls that I can show you right now, where I fail so much times. All of this footage is from the beginning of my sword fighting, or some of them are already 1 year into my training, and I'm still failing. I'm still failing right now even. Yeah, even recently when I actually grabbed my new Sigi King and went to the first sparring matches, the new sword made it a lot harder for me to actually parry my opponent and commit to some kind of specific strikes. Because this specific blade, compared to my previous Federschwert, needs more commitment. It needs more strength also. That's why I go to the nearby gym to actually build myself up before the actual technique. And that's one of the topics that I should also consider making video about, because most of you guys focus very much, like you prioritize manuscripts and sources, not how you're supposed to, if that makes sense. You should prioritize your own fitness before you prioritize trying to understand sources or manuscripts. If you don't have the powerful physique to actually achieve some kind of hard technique, then the technique doesn't matter. So to come back to the whole point, in my training and sparring, I've looked stupid so many times, and that's usually when I actually improved the most, because I had room for improvement. I knew that if I just stick to training and learning this skill, eventually I'll become master swordsman. And naturally, my next point is about why good swordsmen already know this. Advanced people in HEMA, such as my coaches and champions in HEMA, so in longsword or in saber, they already know this specific stuff. These advanced guys don't fear of looking bad, because they already clearly know that experimentation of different techniques in sparring situation can fail. And also, learning requires them making mistakes and being corrected by someone else. And the last thing, they understand that they should lower their ego before trying to learn something. So the ego is usually the thing that slows your progression, including yours. Because real swordsmen are willing to become beginners again to actually learn something new. That's why they keep growing. And that's why my last point is about the bigger lesson beyond the sword fighting. So let's expand the core of this topic to our whole life. All of these points apply to other martial arts. It also applies to our business, to our studies, to our learning, to our social skills, to our fitness, and to our art. If your identity cannot survive looking foolish for most of its times, then your growth will always be limited, right? You just have to be honest with yourself, my guy. And I know that you can throw shit at me, right? You can throw shit at me that I'm not knowledgeable enough, or I'm not in the position to talk about this stuff. But who cares? I already know how to sword fight. You don't, or maybe on some kind of beginner stages. But still, compared to me, you're not near me, if that makes sense. I'm not here to just roast you. I'm here to actually help you. So, to actually correct you and give you the actual advice that you need without nonsense. And that's why most people, including you, cannot stand looking foolish when they're trying to learn something. And I understand that, but you have to break through this limiting, let's say, belief. And if you can sacrifice your image for actual learning, then you can actually become competent in something sick as hell, which is sword fighting. So in sword fighting and life, be the fool, because it's better to look foolish today than remain weak for your entire life. So my dear viewer, if you made it this far, then join my free school community, the links in the description, where I actually tell you what to do on how to start training longsword specifically from the very beginning without extreme fitness or expensive gear. And consider supporting me through the membership called the Vanguard right here, the image made by my sister. So join this group to get your nickname shown at the end of each video that I make. Remember guys to subscribe to this video, because most of you don't, because if you don't, I actually hit you with my sword if I ever meet you. So yeah, leave a comment and give me a like, because yeah, that's the free thing that you can do for me. And remember, always take the initiative.